welcome to an episode of the Artenders with Mac and Dan. I am Dan, he is Mac.
Yeah, I am.
Mac, we are on a double feature Tuesday on a Monday. We are talking about Outer Wilds, a sleeper pick that I selected many moons ago.
Yeah, yes, sir.
And it is a video game that was developed by Mobius Digital, published by Annapurna Interactive, came out in 2019. We're just going to be talking about the base game. We're not talking about the downloadable content that is Echoes of the Eye. I'm sure we will do that. What? You looking at me funny.
I didn't. Oh, I remember you mentioning this, but I did not. I totally forgot about it. I didn't even think about it.
Well, and so we will probably be doing Echoes of the Eye as a regular episode in the future. But
I would love to.
Today we are just going to be talking about the base game of Outer Wilds. It is a game where you have 22 minutes, you're in a time loop, and in 22 minutes the sun in your solar system goes supernova, and you try to sort of piece together this ancient civilization that used to be there called the Nomai, and what the hell was going on, and you and your little spaceship and your little space suit all flying around the universe and just try to piece things together, and eventually it sort of leads to a thing. Spoilers. It leads you to witnessing a brand new Big Bang of the universe. Now, Mac, I guess first and foremost...
It's beautiful, though.
It's beautiful? This game? The ending? I mean...
all of it.
Okay, let's just say the ending is just gorgeous. It's literally a piece of art. Like, I know it's funny we're doing the Artenders, but like the ending to Outer Wilds is a legitimate fucking masterpiece in artistry and visual imagery and music and everything that culminates together, that it's like, but it is sort of like abstract thing that's going on of like, you enter the eye of the universe, you're in this darkness, you walk forward, then you see a reflection of yourself, and then all of a sudden you see like blasting lights aside from you, and then you realize, oh my god, that's all the stars in the universe, and then you have to find your friends, and then you do a little jamboree, and then you jump into the hole, and then you witness the Big Bang. It's, oh my god. Okay, Mac, did you like this game, first of all? It's hard to begin somewhere because this game is all over the place with both its narrative and its exploration, but it's amazing. But did you like this game, Mac?
Sizzle serve.
Oh,
this is a sizzle serve.
Okay.
This is the most unexpectedly fantastic thing I've ever consumed in my life.
Like, the juxtaposition of expectation to reality is so great in the positive way.
I, like, for instance, one of my favorite, if not my favorite movies of all time is Parasite. I love Parasite. But I knew whenever I was going into Parasite that I was gonna like it, and then it ended up matching and exceeding expectations. The fact that this, and I'm glad that it's a sleeper pick because it really was. Yeah, I slept on it.
That's funny to think of.
Yeah, is that I did not expect a whole lot from this game, and I'm not gonna lie.
Well, because you had never heard of this game.
I had never heard of this game,
and I only knew very little.
Because I'm not a big gamer. You know that about me.
You're not a gamer?
I'm not a big gamer. No. Now another thing is that it wasn't even just like before the game. It was as I was playing the game.
Right.
I was getting pretty frustrated with it.
Yes, and for those of you who don't know, you're in a time loop, and so every time you die, you begin at the beginning of you waking up that day, essentially.
And it is frustrating. I will say there is a little kick of adrenaline, like of endorphins, whenever you die because you hit the timer rather than you die because you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Whenever you're like, I made it 22 minutes. Like, that feels good.
Yeah.
You know?
The part of that, and then when you hear the music clocking down, it's both like, oh shit, I'm approaching the end, but then it's also like if you're in the middle of a puzzle or like an environment, you're like, oh shit, but I don't know how I got here.
Yeah, yes.
And then you hear the music kick in, and you're like, oh fuck, I only have like a minute and a half left.
And that is especially difficult whenever I feel like the thing that deterred me or that set me back quite a bit in this game. Now, there's a turning point. There's a turning point whenever it got really, really good.
Okay.
But the thing that really hit me over the head pretty quickly is that you need a bit of I guess it's kind of like The Wire in that I did not respect it enough at first.
I see.
And so because I didn't, there was a lot of information that I missed.
Yeah.
So like I wasn't paying close enough attention. So like I did not explore Timberhearth where you start, right?
Timberhearth is the analogous and
Earth.
To Earth, essentially.
So
but that's where you start every loop.
Right.
Correct.
Right. So I did not explore Timberhearth first.
Yeah, neither did I.
And then I did not explore Timberhearth's moon next.
Wow.
Like I like the moment that I started the game, I kind of like walked around the village, like getting people's names and everything, did everything that I had to do to get on the ship, like the zero gravity, whatever. And then once I'm on the ship, I just started roaming the fuck around, right?
Yeah.
And that was a bad move. That was a really bad move because just like you said, I didn't know how I got places. But another big one is like I would go to places and I would stumble upon information.
Yeah.
That was kind of joyous at the time, but then whenever I get back to my ship and I'm like, okay, what have I learned? I don't know what that means. Like, this means nothing to me yet. And so now what is lovely about it is that like you don't have to, there is no clear like through line. Like you don't have to learn everything at the same time.
That's one of the best things this game does.
You don't have to learn everything at one time or like in a specific way.
Right. At
the same time, there is like a pseudo suggested route where I would get a bunch of information, get kind of stuck on something, and then the answer was something that I should have learned weeks ago.
Yeah.
You know, that I was like, oh, this is like a first level type thing. Like this was like direct, like whenever there was like a dark bramble seed on Timberhearth.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't know about that for a long time.
I didn't know about that.
That's hilarious to me.
Until after I had already fully explored Dark Bramble.
That's really funny.
I had already done everything, had already learned everything that I had to learn about Dark Bramble. And then there's like one thing that you need to learn at Dark. I can't remember the seed on Timberhearth.
Yeah.
And I go back and I'm like, well, this would have been fucking helpful. Like, because really I just wandered around
because there are two things that you learn about the seed from Dark Bramble on Timberhearth, and it's that Feldspar is one of the. It's so difficult to explain. One of your fellow astronauts is in Dark Bramble.
Yeah.
And you can shoot your scout. What the scout is this sort of like device that you basically like cannon out of your arm. It's a contraption. It's like a gun of sorts. And this scout, it's like just a small little, the size of the globe for the visual audience. And it's pretty small. And what it does is that you can take pictures with it as well. And so, luckily, because it's so small and there's an opening to the seed is actually this sort of like interdimensional sort of like teleportation of sorts where you shoot your scout into the seed and it actually goes into Dark Bramble.
Yeah.
And then you see in there, oh, that's a gigantic anglerfish skeleton. And then if you point your sort of sound wave gun at it, you find out, oh, then that's probably Feldspar's music in there, or like you hear music coming from the seed, right? So those are two important things that it's funny that you did not even find either of those.
Yeah.
But like, I think I'm just gonna say outright, first of all, it really suits the game really, really well that in most games you're going to see a lot of like, you're going to get a certain ability in order to unlock this progression, right? See a lot of games of like, you can't reach the top of this wall because you don't have like double jump yet.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
As opposed to this game where everything is available to you from the very beginning.
True.
That is the best thing because hypothetically, you can beat this game in one loop, which is a crazy thought.
In 20 minutes?
Now, mind you, you would just need to stumble into the right places.
Yeah.
But like, you could hypothetically stumble your way into beating this game in one loop.
I wonder if anyone's tried that. Like speedrun playthrough.
Oh no, people have speedrun this game. People speedrun everything.
Right. Well, yes.
But you're saying like, do this like
has
science
anyone
experiment?
done it in 22 minutes? Like, has anyone ever done it? Like, done the full game?
And probably not because they're tucked away really well.
Right.
You know,
right,
all those clues, all those hints are tucked away really, really well.
I mean, I cannot imagine that there is a way of doing all of like the sand traps in Asher's Twin
Yeah, in Ash Twin, yeah.
In Ash Twin, in one loop. I can't imagine. You know what I mean? Like that's just so much timing that you don't learn.
Yeah. But, long. And then what's crazy too is that like you just need to do a very specific thing to beat the game.
Yeah.
You need to find the coordinates inside of Giant's Deep's core.
Yeah.
You need to go to Ash Twin, take the teleportation to the core, get the black hole thing.
Yeah. Now that's the thing that kicks my ass.
Yes. Oh, we'll get there. And recognize the like escape pod distress signal. Follow that signal in Dark Bramble. Then shoot your scout into the seed. Follow where your scout went.
Yeah.
And then you find the vessel, turn on the vessel, and you teleport to the eye of the universe.
You might not believe me here. Okay.
Okay.
I played this game. There was one Monday where I didn't have work, and I played this game for like 10 hours.
Holy shit.
I binged this game one day.
Okay.
And it was maybe the worst day of my life. Not really.
Go on.
So again, this is the part where it might be difficult to understand. I found everything that I needed to find.
Yes.
No more exploring here.
Because the game really helps you by giving you a literal cork board with red string in your ship computer.
Yes. And it tells you need to go back to this place and learn more.
Because there's information that you're missing.
Yeah.
Which like doesn't make sense in the world, but like thank God the game tells you that, because then it's like, oh, okay, I need to check that out more.
Which is a testament to how complicated and intricate and awesome the story is.
Yes.
Because it is like the game does everything it possibly can to help you understand the story, because the story really is that difficult to understand.
And it's all over the place because it's not a straight line. It's a
in
web.
The best way possible. Yeah. I want to be in the room where they storyboarded this. This must have been a bitch to storyboard. Anyways, loved it though. I love the fact that like this might be one of the first games that I can think of that I think this might have been storyboarded in totality before they even thought about what it was going to look like. You know what I mean? Like
I think what's funny is that if I'm not mistaken, the inverse happened. Because this game started out as a thesis project. I believe Alex Beecham, who I want to say he was the lead developer, but I'm gonna need to clarify on that. That's pseudo reckless speculation right there to give my ass some cover.
That's okay.
But this was like his thesis project that he worked on with some people when he was at USC, and so this game started out very, very humbly, but then it grew into this interconnectivity of like clues throughout the world. And like, this game, from my understanding, was storyboarded to hell because like it has to be, right? Where you have, you have Giant's Deep, right? With big old tornadoes and stuff.
Oh, I love Giant's Deep.
And you find out like there's a statue island, which is related to what like the the Hourglass Twins. Then you find out there's a Dark Bramble Island, which is related to Dark Bramble. Then you find like there's the core, but in order to find how to get into the core, you need to go to Brittle Hollow.
Oh, Brittle Hollow, you're right.
That has the Southern Observatory
to
teach you that hey, there's actually one cyclone that like sends you down.
Oh, there's that, right? And then Dark Bramble teaches you the jellyfish thing, right?
And Dark Bramble also teaches you that you can go kind of inside of a jellyfish to get through the electrical core in order to find a piece from a gravity launcher that you found out was in the core, probably from another planet. Now
that was
crazy, and that's just one example.
That was the turning point for me. Yeah. Like, so okay, sorry. So back to the thing that might be hard to believe is I found everything. I 100%ed Dark Bramble without the scout.
What? Without shooting the scout into the seed?
I just wandered around Dark Bramble for 10 hours.
So I'm so sorry that I have to keep derailing you.
No, please. It's hard to explain. I'm appreciative of this.
This is one of my just the scariest moments I've ever experienced ever.
Oh, was an Anglerfish popped out?
So
fuck yes, same.
So when I almost pissed myself. Enter Dark Bramble, and the thing is that when I shot my scout into the seed on Timber Hearth, and it showed me that sort of fossil of an anglerfish, I was like, oh, it's dead. Yep. That means all the anglerfish are dead if I see any.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
So then I go into Dark Bramble.
Yep.
And then, like, towards the entrance, there are, like, 2 anglerfish just kind of, like, chilling there. Like, okay. Power forward with my ship. Immediately, and then, like, it turns, and then giant, like, a gaping maw with, like, hundreds of teeth. It just goes after you. And Mac, when I tell you, I screamed at the top of my lungs, dropped my controller in paralysis, shouted, oh my god, what the fuck, what the fuck. And I was like, what is happening?
Right.
It was the most terrifying
I am right
moment.
there with you, though. I had the exact same moment. You can ask my brother, man. I had the exact same because, and this is what's so beautiful about it, is that it's not a horror game by any stretch of the imagination.
Not at all.
And so I think it was that I felt so safe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you feel safe in that time loop.
Oh, how interesting. What's going on here? Oh my god. You know what I mean?
That's the thing about that's the really funny part. You get comfortable in the time loop so that you're not, if there's like a big fall that you have, it's like, like if I die, I die, Oh, if I drown, I drown. Like it's more of an inconvenience because like the only thing that you're losing is time. You're not losing experience. You're not losing, or like experience points rather in a game. You're not losing money. You're not losing equipment. You're not losing any of those things. All you're losing is time, right? Like your own personal time. And so then because you get comfortable with that, you're like, whatever. But then you're still able to be shocked and surprised by a gigantic, terrifying anglerfish that just swallows the entirety of your ship. You're like, what the fuck? So with that being said, Dark Bramble, you didn't use your scout, which is miraculous because that's kind of how you need to find the vessel, which is the giant Nomai ship.
You can use the scout to find the vessel, or you can just wander towards the lights. And that's what I did for 10 hours.
And have a lucky guess.
And it wasn't lucky. I tried all of them.
Oh my god.
It took forever. It was a mess, man. But anyways, I finally did that. And then I was like, okay, I need to reassess because there's some things that I did not know that I need to know.
It's one of those games that like, okay, I played this for a while. I need to take a fucking step back.
Yes, okay. So there was this, for the audience at home, there was a professor that Danny and I had that was our movement professor. And one of the best things he ever taught us was whenever we were juggling, whenever he was teaching us how to juggle, he was just like, now, if you start to get frustrated, stop. That's it. Like that's the advice. He was like, if it stops being fun, don't do it anymore.
You've reached the cap for the day.
Yeah, he's
just
like, you are not going to get any better at this specific thing, especially juggling, if you do it out of frustration. That's not how it works. Like, you need to be like relaxed and soft focused to be able to do it. Like, so I mean, he didn't say that, but that's what you eventually learn. Yeah. Is like, oh wait, juggling comes from like the absence of thought rather than thinking too hard. Like, I need to calm down. And so, that's the exact same with this video game. Yeah. That like if it ever stops being fun for a single moment, just stop. Come back to it later. Yeah. Because I promise, and I think we can both attest to this, that this game is sneaky good at in general, but at you being like, I'm so done with this game. I don't want to play it anymore. And then you put it down, and you can't stop thinking about it.
You can't stop thinking.
And I'm just like, wait a second. It was on Timber Hearth. I need to go back.
Because it's the web. Yeah. It's the web of the narrative, right? That there's always something to find. There's always something to figure out. It's a consistent exploration and, more importantly, investigation into like what's going on.
Now, what did you think of the fact that? And I felt like it was a specific decision because there are countless times in this game in which it would have been very helpful to have some form of weapon. What did you think about the fact that, like, were you used to that? Is that normal in most video games? Because I feel like
lack of a weapon?
Yes. Or just like the fact that you really had only your puzzle solving abilities. Like that was the only thing to help you. It was like the puzzle after puzzle after puzzle. Because I feel like that's not super common in pop culture games, like in big games.
In the case of this, I mean, like, I hate to be abstract and sort of brown nosy, but like knowledge is your weapon in this game, you know?
Right.
That like, because there is no weapon, it permitted more usage from the time loop. that you're stuck in, right? And so the weapon was your knowledge. The weapon was your fearlessness that you adapt throughout the game. You know, the agency
I never even thought about that.
that you create for yourself. You know, that's the weapon. Like, you don't need a sword. You don't need a gun. Like,
on that, were there ever any times? Sorry, were there ever any times where you were like, it would be way more convenient to die right now than go back?
Yeah. Now, so fun fact, like, I imagine then you weren't able to find this, but there's actually, if you keep talking to Gabbro, who's on Giant's Deep, they show you, there's like a text option that they'll show you, like, oh, you can meditate until your next loop. So if you're like, fuck it, I'm stuck, I don't want to wait 10 minutes for this, you know, to end. You can just hit the pause button and just hit meditate until next loop, and then you just restart, essentially. So you just straight up die.
I just went into outer space and suffocated.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's what I did every
That's
time.
really funny. I love the idea of just like, fuck it, I don't feel like, you know, I have like 5 minutes left. There's not really much to do. Let me just pop the hatch and just.
Exactly, man. That's exactly right.
A funny image.
Every single time that was what I did, or I would drown. Yeah. God, that's so morbid now. I really shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have meditated, but I didn't even know that.
But you didn't need to, which I think is like one of the coolest parts about this game is that, like, you don't need everything. You could get everything because everything's sort of like how it's painted.
Yeah.
You're gathering pieces of information.
Even after having finished, I'm definitely inspired to go back and find all the things that I didn't before.
This is the biggest compliment I can give anything ever. Hands down. This is the biggest compliment. I wish there was a device that could freaking wipe my memory like they use in Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. Mm-hmm. Did I say that right? Is that the film name? I hope that's the film name.
Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. Okay. I don't remember what you said. Youths.
Did it Youths? Oh, well, nevertheless, I was making sure I got the name of the movie right.
But that's the name of the movie, yes.
Of like the ability to wipe my memory.
Yep.
Like, this is like one of like 2-3 other games that I wish I could wipe my memory so I could experience Outer Wilds again. Because there was also a part of me, too, where I'm like, man, I did not appreciate the journey enough. Because when I finished the journey, I was like, oh, shit, it's over. No, it can't be.
Yeah.
It can't be.
Yeah. Well, another big one is that I was like, I am mad at myself that I got to the end this fast. Like, I wish that I would have explored more.
Did you find everything before you reached the Eye of the Universe? No. Wow.
No.
I was able to explore mostly everything until okay, really fast. There are a couple of pieces of information that I did not think the game did a good job in sort of like articulating to the player. One is, and we've discussed this over text, the fact that you find out that the anglerfish are blind.
Right.
So they're just using, auditory senses. So then, but the game never articulates to you that you can actually still move in your ship if you only go like as fast as like one click in quote unquote in any direction,
right?
The game doesn't really articulate that you can do that. So I always thought that I had to blast my way through and then I couldn't move while I'm inside Dark Bramble.
Yeah.
Right. And so that piece of information was lost. Another piece of information that I was just like, how the hell do you figure this out? How the hell do you get inside of the Ash Twin project, the core of Ash Twin, in order to get the black hole core from there? How do you figure out how to get inside of there? Because I don't think the game ever really articulates to you, because the game tells you that those teleportation spots, when it's pointed to another planet, that it'll take you to that planet, right? But like in terms of the center of the planet that you're already standing on, it doesn't really make sense logically when the sand is over you, but the sand is flowing out of Ash Twin into the brotherly planet Ember Twin. But when the sand is there, that's when you have to step on the platform in order to go into the center, but the sand is flowing out instead of in. Like, it didn't make sense like logically in my head. And so I was like, I don't know if I would have been ever able to figure that out if I didn't look that up. Which I was like, that kind of sucks. But because of that, like, I found almost everything else in the game. Like, for example, I found the vessel and figured out, I need to put the coordinates here into the vessel. This is how I'm going to get to the Eye of the Universe.
Yeah.
I was able to land on the Quantum Moon. I was able to talk to Solanum. Were you able to talk to Solanum? Oh,
one
this
sec,
is
one sec.
brand new. You land on the Quantum Moon. You teleport to orbiting the Eye of the Universe.
It was the guy with the flat mask, yeah?
Yeah.
And and that's one of the guys at the end. So sorry.
Wow.
And that's one of the people at the end. And then you start like learning about each individual planet via
this like transcribing tool that she has, which is like really, really cool. Because when she's alive there, you're like, what the fuck is happening? But then it makes sense like in the game where like quantum objects are everything, like everywhere at the same time. So it makes sense that like she would be alive in this one spot because she's completely unharmed. Yeah. But everywhere else that is like affected from the ghost matter that was in the interloper,
right? She
dies.
Now, okay, so Dark Bramble and Ash Twin were pretty frustrating. I thought to figure out like the quantum rocks or whatever in Ash Twin. Whenever like you'd go into a cave by like hopping a ride on. Did you ever see that?
Oh, and the Ember Twin. Yes,
Ember Twin.
There's the quantum shard in the cave.
One that looked like Star Wars desert.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very cavernous.
And was it? And so was Ash Twin the sand one that was flowing?
Correct.
Okay, my bad. Yeah, that was pretty frustrating, and obviously the Dark Bramble and blah blah blah. But I think that actually the thing that was probably most frustrating for me with Dark Bramble was that like you finally find Feldspar in Dark Bramble, right?
Yeah.
On his little like tree whatever thing, like camp out.
The fossilized anglerfish.
And then after you find him, it's like, okay, where do I go now? You know what I mean?
That's fair.
Points
you. They point you in the direction of like their ship and like to gesture.
I already found the ship.
Well, no. Like, or rather, like to go into the vine that's behind the anglerfish fossil in order to figure out the jellyfish thing on Giant's Deep.
Yeah. For me though, it was the
almost there.
There's that like escape pod type thing.
Yeah.
But it wasn't his. It wasn't like his ship. It was
their Mac.
Sorry.
Wow, the Hearthians have no gender, Mac.
I'm sorry.
They are tadpoles that grew up and they have no gender, Mac. God, do you not know your Outer Wilds lore?
I really don't. That's one of the things that I said. I just overlooked. I did not respect the game enough at first.
Fucking gender's wrong.
I know, but I would really like to talk about Giant's Deep.
Okay.
After we come back from a word from our sponsor. See, this one's going fast now. Yep.
You weren't ready to lead us in.
No, I wasn't.
I'm
so
sorry. And then I just stomped over you saying welcome back.
We went, okay. No. This is way better. We both know this is way better. So where we left off. I would like to
Giant's Deep.
What would that be?
Giant's Deep? Visit.
Respawn is what I kept saying in my head. I'd like to respawn in the conversation. Jesus. With Giant's Deep. I am going to go ahead and this might be kind of strange. This is probably the strangest gold medal we've ever given.
That's amazing.
But I'm giving my gold medal to the planet Giant's Deep.
Yeah, that's fair.
That was by a landslide my favorite planet. And I now issue to you, what was your favorite planet?
Why are you doing this to me? I think it's also Giant's Deep.
It was such a good planet. I mean, there was just so many mysteries, but also like so many sections of the planet that all had different puzzles to it, or like different ways of figuring it out. And it was all
sort of like spread out, and I actually kind of like the fact that, like, at least for me, there was the reveal of like going really fast into Giant's Deep, of just like, okay, I guess it's the planet, but then you realize it's a gas giant,
right?
And then you break atmosphere, and it's just cyclones everywhere. I remember just yelling out, "Holy shit!" Because I was just like aghast.
Now, this was the thing, because as you know, I went with the idiotic method of I'm just going to kind of roam around places and just end up places, right?
Hold on, idiotic method. How else is there to play this game?
Well,
Matt?
you get a hint, and then you go, I guess I'm supposed to go to see this because this person told me
but
to.
even then, but then, like, you still kind of figure to yourself, there's probably still more to this planet,
Sure.
when in Rome.
So, this is the funny part, right?
Okay.
Is that I thought that I didn't have the equipment necessary to breach the atmosphere of Giant's Deep at first because, coincidentally, I tried entering directly over cyclones. So I for a couple minutes I was trying to get in the planet and I couldn't because I kept getting spit back out by tornadoes.
That's really funny.
I didn't know that. I just got to the gas. So I didn't see the ocean yet. I just tried to get into the to break atmosphere like what you're saying, and then I would get spit back out.
That's really funny.
It was really frustrating. And then it took me going to several other planets for me to be I should probably go back to the Giant's Deep and see if I can get in that place. And I
first try.
First, I was just oh, this is easy. And then I was wait a minute, because there's nothing there's just ocean around here. What if this? And so I left the planet.
Okay.
And then remember, this is the first time that I was really encountering it. Left the planet. I came back and I was no. For gas giants, now something that is in real life that I recognize, that I remember, is that their poles. Their poles work differently. The gas is different than the rest. That's all I know.
Oh,
all I know is that the
poles are different. The north and south poles are different.
The north and south poles are different. So I was okay, cool, let's try that. I go to the North Pole. Matter of fact, happens to be where the
quantum
tower of knowledge. Yeah,
that's really funny because I discovered the Tower of Knowledge completely differently because I had found the sort of reception signal for the quantum shards on my radio gun, and so it led me to Giant's Deep, and I was and you kind of get the sense of there's a quantum shard on every planet. So you're where's the one in Giant's Deep? And then it's pointing to a gigantic cyclone, right? There are plenty of cyclones that are just wandering around essentially, but there's one gigantic one that's just not moving. And you're and you pull up the gun and you're there's a shard in there. Oh, there's a shard in there. And then immediately you think about the eye of the storm, and then you just go whoop. Woo! And you exit atmosphere, and then you just like move forward a little bit, and then you go back down, and you're like, yes! Like that's one of the moments in the game where, like, at least for me, I felt like a freaking genius.
Same.
And
Yes.
Another one primarily is like after you get the information from the knowledge tower of like when you take a picture of a quantum object, it stays in its place. Yeah. And when you're when you're always viewing that picture, right? And so like how the scout works is that when you take a picture is like uploaded to like the top right of your screen.
Yeah.
And so once you learn that, you're like, oh, wait a second. That's how I land on the quantum moon that's been floating over to like teleporting itself to like other planets. That's how I land on that. It's one of those like eureka moments that is just so freaking enriching.
And I found that after I found the moon locator on Ember Twin.
I think I can't remember what the order was for me. Yeah, but I think I also found the moon locator.
So I remember finding that and being like, go back to that freaking moon locator, because that was a very frustrating part for me.
That's funny. Well, I think because once again, like you're armed with the knowledge, at least for me, of like when you turn away, then like, okay, rather when you turn away. So let's say like I'm looking at the quantum moon, I blink and it disappears from my sight, right? Because that's just how quantum objects work in this game. It's everywhere at once, but like it hops around from your vision essentially. And so when that happens, I'm like, wait a second. So if I just essentially just like keep like closing my eyes from a planet, right? Eventually, it'll probably pop up on that planet.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's how I figured out where the moon was. But you went to the locator on Ember Twin and was like, okay, it's here. Boom.
Yeah, well, because what was nice and what I started figuring out is that if I stayed there for long enough, and how many times is that the case in the game, that you come across something that's frustrating, then you're like, wait, if I stay here long enough, something's going to happen. You know? That happens. That's the answer so often in this game.
Yeah.
That I realized if I stay here long enough, then I will eventually be able to, because it is pointing, because like the locator is rotating all the time, right?
Yeah.
But it takes me a second to realize, wait, the planets are also rotating on this thing. Why are they they're following the actual planets in real time.
Yeah.
So like if I'm facing towards the locator and it's facing towards a planet, then I can also see that planet on the horizon if I'm at the right angle.
Yeah, nice.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So I eventually was like, okay, that makes more sense. So as long as I am able to like face in the right location, eventually I'll find it.
Mac, I've never genuinely, I've never experienced a piece of media that rewards the audience member as much as this one.
Yeah.
You know? Of like, even though there are moments, as I mentioned, that like didn't feel like the game properly articulated what you needed to do or what it was trying to tell you, but there are 20,000 more moments of the game perfectly doing that.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Of that exactly. Of like, oh, wait a second, this is rotating with the planets. That means the planet's right there. Okay, that means if the quantum moon is there, that means I can see it. That means if I just take a picture of it, it can stay there and then I can land on it.
Yes.
Boom, boom, boom. You know, it's that consistent sort of like figuring out of information. And like this game really is a masterclass of narrative structure, because then it's always giving you information. But in a way, for the most part, it's also almost all of it is like pretty useful information.
Yes.
Either in the sense of lore and or in the sense of like, how do I keep progressing throughout this game? And it leads to one of, if not the most enriching experience you can ever have in a game, because you don't get any sort of power-ups. Then like I said in the previous segment, your knowledge is your weapon.
Yeah.
And so when you figure it all out and when you beat the game, there isn't like the feeling that's resonating deep within you is I did that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that like, I think thematically what the game really nails is how like small we are in the universe and how much of like we don't really have a hand in anything truly.
Yeah.
You know? But at the same time, there was that sense of like endless beauty to like figuring out how the world is operating and figuring out the puzzles that involve this entire solar system.
Yeah.
And like a game has never given me that sort of agency, because knowledge is your weapon, right?
Yeah.
There's always like a literal weapon that other games give you, where this one is just like, what you don't know is just what you don't know. Yeah. And that's what's stopping you. You know, nothing else is.
Right.
And that's what makes this game one of the best games I've ever played.
Yeah. Now, in I can't remember which episode I said it in. It was either in one of the Dark Seasons or in Casablanca. I can't remember, though. But I said, or I asked you something, and I'm going to ask you the same thing now. Does consuming this make you feel smart?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's
felt like a freaking genius.
So satisfying. It really is.
It's so awesome.
Yeah, that's a fantastic feeling. Yeah, there is something that like, and there's some things that make you feel that way because they, you know, are so like high end that if you are able to figure out the puzzle, whatever. But I think what's so special about this is that most of the time, because I'm not, like I said, I'm not a big gamer, right? So if I'm playing a video game and the character that I'm playing with, I'm able to make them stronger and get them cooler weapons or whatever.
Yeah.
Even though I'm playing the game and it's taking my attention, I don't feel any more powerful by my character getting more powerful. If I'm able to beat someone in Call of Duty,
there's very little agency that's like happening within you, like as the player. Now there are like, that's not always the case. Like at least in like action games, you'll like get better at it. But there's still that very distinct line between like action games and like, not only are you getting better at flying your ship, but you're learning more about the universe and you're learning about how things operate and the interconnectivity of it all.
Right. So like whenever I'm playing a game that is action-based, right, I don't feel more powerful whenever my character gets more powerful. I don't feel any more accomplished or anything like that or victorious whenever I'm able to like beat someone online on Call of Duty or whatever. But I will say whenever I'm playing Outer Wilds every time that my character gets information, I also feel a little bit smarter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I also feel a little bit more powerful because, like you said, knowledge is power, and that's something that I can access at the same pace.
It's a tangible sort of growth.
Right.
I understand. Okay, I understand.
Like I am, because the only thing that's really changing about the character in the game is them gaining this information, and I am gaining the information at the same rate in which the character is. I feel like, one, more attached to the character, but also like I am just as powerful as the character. You know what I mean? Yeah. So whenever the character is able to reach the eye of the universe, it's not like that I have bred this character and eventually the character has gotten to the eye of the universe. It's I have gotten to the eye of the universe.
Yeah, that is a perfect way to do it.
Yeah,
and that also that you have articulated. Like that is perfect. And that's why I think that's a big reason why this game landed so hard emotionally for me.
I was about to talk about that exactly. Oh God, that's just. I'm a big sucker for life reflection scenes.
Yeah.
Or songs or anything like that. The whole like looking back on what has occurred and everything, it always gets me, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said it before, one of my favorite tropes in like movies and TV shows and video games is like towards the end where they go back to where it all started.
Yeah.
And so the fact that this game sort of ends with going back, quote unquote, to where it all started, which is around a campfire, and then with the musicality of your pals.
Oh, the music was great. But for me, it was whenever, and I'm so glad that they make you go around and hear what everyone's last words are.
Yeah.
Before you jump in, you know?
Yeah.
That. Oh gosh, it was just so good. Like whenever
it's the acceptance.
Yeah.
Of sort of like
that's it right there. That's the thing that gets me. Is like it'd be one thing if everyone's huddled around the campfire was like really afraid.
Yeah.
You know? But it's more the fact that every one of them was like, well, this is it. But looking back, I don't regret anything.
And that was a big thing that like resonated with me in our previous episode that we discussed. Don't Look Up. Of like, I guess spoiler, the very end of that film. You know.
Sorry. If you were avoiding
the
that
very
episode.
end of that film is just like the acceptance, right?
Yeah.
That like acceptance is such a like gratifying, sort of cathartic experience.
Nice, yeah.
Where. You know, we've been on this journey. We went on this journey. Our journey has come to an end. And it's sort of like the game is also, oh shit, this just occurred to me, that while you are like talking to like those buddies around the campfire, they're accepting their end. Simultaneously, you're accepting your end because you know this is
at the end of the game.
The end.
Yeah.
Like the entire game has like ramped up to the eye of the universe.
Yeah.
Like almost everything written by the Nomai like is in some way, even if it's tangentially, related to the eye of the universe. It's the Mecca in this game, you know? And so once you actually reach it, then it's also you having to confront with the fact this is the end. You have to accept it.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, was the 22 minutes thing because like the Big Bang was inevitable? It's just that you have to get to.
So this is interesting because so like in the story of the game, it's sort of like it's good old lore.
Yeah.
But it's sort of not really explained. So we know by teleporting to the sun station, were you able to teleport to the sun station?
Uh-huh.
We know that the sun is naturally just approaching its life.
Yeah.
Right. We know that's happening. And so then nothing can stop that supernova.
Change over the course of the game.
Which is cool, right?
It.
Like the sun actually does expand, and then at one point it eats up the sun station, and later eats up the interloper, which is the comet that's orbiting around it. So you find out the sun is going into supernova anyway, so nothing can stop that.
What was on interloper? Because
you never figured it out?
I landed at one point, I tried to figure it out, and then I always died.
So before we continue what we think the eye of the universe is about.
Yeah.
No, you're good. The interloper so there's really two things on it. There's the ship that's like frozen in the back.
Yes, I remember seeing that.
When the interloper gets close to the sun, the part facing the sun, like the ice on it, kind of cracks itself open and you can dive in. Hence why, like, you can see, like, writing that, like, two other nomai that got off the ship that went to investigate, you can't find their bodies because their bodies are inside of the interloper. And so that's when you get the information that, like, there's a core of ghost matter in the interloper, and then it's implied that, like, somehow that core exploded and spread all the ghost matter throughout the solar system and killed all of the nomai. And that was the eradication of the nomai in the solar system. You find out that nomai exist elsewhere in a different solar system, but at least in the case of all of this nomai who have been dead for over 200,000 years, they're all dead because of the ghost matter that exploded from the interloper.
Okay.
So, the Eye of the Universe, I think, because I was reading up on this too, because it's sort of abstract and not really explained, and it's honestly not something that I find needs to be explained, and it's more interesting to me to, like, discuss. But one theory that I read was that the Eye of the Universe was calling out to the nomai, and maybe was calling out to you, because it needed somebody, I guess, to witness the new Big Bang, the new birth of a new universe. Because I guess maybe it was like, it was never going to happen if nobody witnesses it. That is how I interpret it, right? So, like, once you, like, gather with your friends around the campfire and you jump in that, like, sort of black hole of sorts, even though it's not a black hole, above the campfire, and then you see a giant bang, like, that's a Big Bang, and then you get the little thing that's like 14.3 million years later, and then you see, like, flourishing life and, like, planets and stuff, you know? So I think, like, that's the idea behind it, of, like, someone needs to witness the birth of the new universe. You know, that's what I was thinking. So yeah. So, but that's really it. Was there other stuff? So hold on. After you beat the game, did you then go back in order to find stuff that you didn't find?
I want to. I have not yet.
Okay.
But I would like to. That's my intention.
I see.
But then again, I am also excited for this extension pack or whatever.
The downloadable content, DLC, Echoes of the Eye. Which
now
we haven't played it. Neither of us have played it.
What does that even mean? Like, what do we think is in that? Do you think that there's, like, some?
I don't know. I know. All I know is that, like, it adds to the base game as opposed to just being its own, like, story, like, separate. Like, I think it, like, adds to the world that's already there. Does that make sense?
So, like,
as opposed to, like,
you
go into a new zone, you know, or, like, you go into, like, this door, and the door has its, like, own, like, narrative specific one line branch segment, you know. I think with the DLC it actually adds more things into the solar system, the world that's already there, if that makes sense. So yeah,
so it's mainly just, like, world and lore building for the already existing.
Sure. I don't know. There's definitely more gameplay stuff, I would imagine, but I need to talk about also the biggest thing that this game not criminally, but, like, is messed up.
Yeah.
So
interesting. Okay.
I bought this game. It was on sale, I think, luckily. I bought this game on my PS5. And it was like the PS4 port of the game. So I was essentially playing a PS4 game on a PS5. Whatever. The moment I started this game.
Oh, yeah. I know you're about to say.
I was like, why does everything feel so wrong? So let me explain to you, audience. There's this thing sometimes in games, the amount of frames per second that a game runs on. So essentially just, like, how fast the game is to, like, tactile what you're doing, right? Like, how responsive it is, per se, right? So if there are more frames, then it feels a lot more intuitive and the gameplay flows a lot better from you moving your thumbs of the controller to what's actually happening. Outer Wilds on console, so on Nintendo Switch and PS4, PS5, on Xbox One and Xbox Series X, by default, and you cannot change it, runs at 30 frames per second, which is, to somebody who plays games a lot, me, super duper jarring. Was it difficult for you? Did you notice anything with it?
Not at all.
Which is interesting because I noticed it immediately to the point of like, I can't play this.
And that's funny because I think the main thing for me is that like the average blockbuster hit movie nowadays runs at 24.
Well, yeah, but I mean that's film. Like that's something.
Right, but I'm saying that I experience video games so little that's really my only frame of reference. So whenever I'm playing this game, I actually think it's pretty quick.
Which is hilarious because I'm like, what the hell? Like the game is not responding to me just jumping.
Yeah.
You know? So then I bought it for my computer, which it runs natively at 60 frames per second instead of 30.
Oh my gosh.
There is no way to change the amount of frames on console, even though I think it's very fair to assume that at the very least on a PS5 and Xbox Series X. Yeah, of course it was easier to play on the PC. Because what I did was, I mean, then I like playing on a controller anyway, so I just hooked up my controller to my computer, and that's how I played it. I didn't play on mouse and keyboard, even though you can. And even the game recommends you playing with a controller on like a splash screen for the PC version. But I was like really, really, really disappointed how just not optimized the game is for consoles. Right. Because part of it too is like, even I'm more upset about it now because I love this game and I want everybody to experience this game and I want everybody to experience the game the way it should be experienced.
So okay. So
because I'm sure if I give you a controller right now and I have you play the 60 frames per second version on my computer, that you could probably feel the difference since you put in enough hours.
No, I believe I could feel the difference. It's more just that I like if I got a 60 frame per second video game and then you gave me a 30 frames, I would be able to tell the difference.
Yeah.
I could tell the difference between 24, 25 and 30. Like that's huge to me because I spend most of my time editing. But my expectations weren't at 60. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think it was for me because I think most first person games just most of them run at 60 frames per second.
That's interesting. Interesting. So, have you ever heard of like the 60 frames per second rule for cinematography?
No.
So usually what the standard is that you run 24 frames per second, and that's like the cinematic look. Like that's what like standard film runs at, and then a lot of people are running 30 whenever they do like 4K and things like that. That's like streaming service type stuff nowadays. Like a lot of the Netflix shit looks 4K, and so they like doing that. But then you run 60 frames per second for slow motion. So like anytime you're doing slow motion, any rate, the standard is shooting 60 frames because whenever you slow down, that's what looks the cleanest. So yes, so that's interesting that 60 frames per second is a standard for video games because you're expected to move so fast.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I never in my life have ever been able to adjust to. And I've always been envious of friends that are able to like play games, Super Smash Bros. Or like Call of Duty or something really, really fast.
Yeah.
Because I've never been able to keep up. Like my eyes.
But
just
you were
can't
able to
adjust.
move pretty fast at towards the end of this game, were you not? Like just a matter of waking up, boom, launch codes, go to the ship, boom.
Very true. Very true. Very
All right,
true.
back to this planet.
Yes, you're exactly correct. I was already buckled before I fully transported into the ship.
Yeah.
Like I was already ready to go. And also like the regard for the ship and the ship's safety quickly fleets. Like about halfway through the game, funny. I'm just like, I'm just funny. Dropping out of this bitch. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I'm just opening hatch and
because at the beginning of the game, you're like trying to land perfectly and carefully, right. And then towards the end, you're like, fuck, I can repair it if I
need to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Who cares?
But I'm probably not even gonna need it because I'm gonna get lost in the dark.
Yeah, and probably like this is just gonna be teleported this damn ship somewhere else.
Who cares?
Oh goodness gracious.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, here we go on the 2-minute warning.
We're in the 2-minute warning, and it's kind of sad because this is one of the best games I've ever played. Yeah. It's a masterclass in narrative storytelling and structure. It's a masterclass in giving so much agency to the player. I've never played a game that made me say to myself, I did that.
I just
hit the microphone and we're tied 5-5.
I felt so good too in the last 2 minutes. I felt so good. Sorry,
so much agency to the player. I've never have played such an empowering game, right? Where it made me say to myself, I did that. I did the things that I did and I figured it out, you know? It made me feel like invincible in a way. And it's really cool. And I wish I could wipe my memory and play this again because it's one of the best things I have ever played, bar none. And I think everybody and anybody should play this wonderful, beautiful, entrancing, and the music is fantastic game. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. This game is fantastic. Easily one of the best games I've ever played. I would say this is right up there with Uncharted, Red Dead, and then also I would actually liken it more to, what was that game that we played that one time?
Oxenfree?
No, the one.
Dragon Quest?
No, not for the show. I'm like me and you just played like a
oh,
couch co-op.
Journey.
That was.
Fun
that
fact,
wasn't a couch co-op, was it?
The publisher that published this game also published Journey for like iOS and like PC.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So this is, in my opinion, the only thing we've reviewed so far that is this season, in season 2 of the Artenders, that is a clear S tier for me.
Yeah.
Like, there's no doubting that it's the only one for me.
Even with some of its gripes, it's so perfect everywhere else.
The now the thing that we are our next sleeper pick, our next thing that we are going to spend several weeks on, a game that I have not experienced yet, even though I feel like I'm committing a sin for not having experienced yet, and I want to stay in a video game route, is The Last of Us.
Whoa.
What I tell you, you're going to be shocked. I knew it. That's it. There you go. Congrats. Ta-da.